Hello, welcome to Live Talk with Dr. Choma. I am sure we have all heard about the cholera outbreak in Lagos, about how 60 people have been admitted with this disease, and unfortunately, over 6 people have died from this disease. Let's talk about cholera today. What is cholera? It's actually a bacterial infection, right? It is caused by a bacteria called Vibrio cholera. And how is this bacteria transmitted? It's transmitted through contaminated food and water. It's part of what we call fecal oral diseases. That means you get it when you eat infected food or you take infected water. It is not the only fecal oral disease. So that means we need to listen, we need to imbibe all the things we're going to learn here today, because they're also going to be effective for other fecal oral diseases. So what is peculiar about cholera? The thing about cholera is that when um, it infects a person, it releases toxins. And what do these toxins do? They go ahead and cause excess water secretion, which causes diarrhea. So the main problem of cholera is actually diarrhea. And when someone has excessive diarrhea, they lose a lot of water, they lose a lot of fluids. And when they are losing their energy, they are losing their electrolytes, their nutrients. Nothing is staying, nothing is being absorbed. So what does that lead to? Loss of blood volume, low blood pressure, and all that. So I've explained to you what happens when someone gets infected with cholera. Let's talk about the symptoms you will see if someone is infected with cholera. So before we talk about the symptoms that come with cholera, where do we see cholera infection? Most times it is seen in places with unsafe water and unsafe sewage practices, or unsafe sanitary practices. Unsafe water means water that can be easily contaminated. The source of their drinking water can be easily contaminated. So when they drink this water, it is already contaminated because of infections. Next is unsafe sewage disposal. These are the sanitary practices. A place where feces and urine and all the waste products that come from our soakaway, or that's the septic tank, are not properly disposed. So when we and places where open defecation is also practiced. We can see this because feces mixes with the soil, people come in contact with it, before you know it, it's contaminating our foods. Where when we plant the crops, it's contaminating so many things. And most of our foods are grown in the soil. When we harvest them, most times they're infected with these organisms. Then another one is improper refuse disposal. Places where their refuse is not disposed properly, it's lying everywhere, it's in the soil, it gets mixed up with so many things, some of the food we eat and all that. So when these things get mixed up and we don't take precautions while cooking, while eating these things, what happens? We get infected. So what are these symptoms we can see? The first that anyone might notice is diarrhea. Now, diarrhea is passage of very watery stool greater than 3 times in a day. Now, the characteristic thing about passage of stool or the diarrhea that is in cholera is that it's called rice water stool. When you finish washing your rice and you rinse it out, the way the color of the water is when you finish rinsing rice, that is what may be seen in cholera infection. Now, sometimes it could be associated with vomiting, so the person could end up vomiting too. Now, when a person is passing such watery stool and is vomiting, what do we see? That means the person is losing a lot of water and losing a lot of electrolytes and nutrients. When a person loses a lot of water, what does it lead to? It leads to dehydration. What are the symptoms of dehydration you could see? So this symptom of dehydration can be seen also in someone that is suffering with cholera. We have confusion, irritability, fatigue, dry lips, dry skin. The skin is no longer elastic. The person is extremely thirsty. The mouth is dry. So those are some of the symptoms you can see that are symptoms of dehydration. Then if someone keeps losing water from this and is not properly treated, the blood volume goes down because this water is gotten from filtering the blood. So the when the blood volume goes down, you see a person coming down with low blood pressure. The pressure drops all the way down, and if nothing is done and electrolytes keep being lost, the person could experience muscle cramps, because most of these electrolytes are needed for proper functioning of the muscle. So the person could start experiencing muscle cramps. Okay, so these are some of the symptoms you see, and if it gets so extreme, the person could enter into shock. So what are the risk factors that could expose people to cholera? The first is if staying in a place where there is no potable water. That means there is no safe source of water. You drink water that is contaminated. It could be from wells or water from the surface, water that is easily contaminated. Secondly, a place where they don't have proper sewage disposal or proper toilet facilities. What happens is that there could be open defecation. The feces from the septic tank could contaminate the water because they are not properly disposed. They are not built, the septic tanks are not built in a very good way. We see this most times in very fast rising and developing places. They do not take proper time to build septic tanks at the specified distance from the water source. It's supposed to be at least 5 meters, but most times we see that these things don't happen. Thirdly, places where there is improper refuse disposal. Places where refuse is not disposed properly, they are allowed to fester, they are allowed to contaminate everywhere. So these kind of places could expose people to fecal-oral diseases like cholera. Other risk factors we could see is the eating of raw fruits and vegetables without properly washing them. A lot of us will go to the market, we buy banana, we buy apples, we don't wash them properly, we just put it in our mouth. That is a risk factor for contracting this disease. And then another one is undercooked food and eating food from questionable sources. At this point, you need to question the places where you're eating. Are you sure the person is not infected? Are you sure they cook their food properly? When you're eating it, is that food hot? Is it properly cooked? Some of us go, we buy any type of food, it's already cold and we're eating it. That is a risk factor for contracting cholera. So let's watch it. So how do we prevent this cholera that is ravaging everywhere? The first thing you need to do is avoid eating out. If you can avoid it, avoid it. Avoid it totally. Make your own food, cook your own food the way you know that it is safe. But if you cannot avoid it, you have to make sure that the food you're buying is hot. It is cooked in your presence and it is hot while you're eating it, because some of these microorganisms cannot survive the heat. Secondly, we have to make sure that our water is clean, properly clean and potable. You either boil and disinfect yourself, or you buy from reputable sources that you're sure are not contaminated. Wipe the outside of your bottles and your cans before putting them in your mouth. You wipe them. As a matter of fact, you don't even need to drink it directly from the container. You can pour it out before you drink into a clean cup. Another is, make sure when you go out to drink, do not let them put ice in your cups, because you don't know where the ice is coming from. You don't know the kind of water used to prepare the ice, so you don't know what you're drinking. So refuse ice. You don't need to take ice with those drinks. You can refrigerate them and take them on your own. So avoid eating raw vegetables and fruits that are not properly washed. This is not the time to buy fruit in traffic and just pop it into your mouth. No, buy your fruits, get to wash them properly with salt and vinegar. I use both salt and vinegar to wash because I need double protection. And some vegetables, I put them on heat too, saute them a little bit before we eat. So these are some of the things you need to do to prevent cholera. Then please make sure you cook your food properly. Cook your food, especially your seafood. Cook it properly. Please, it's not time for eating half-made food or half-made. No. You have to boil it properly and cook it to the point any microorganisms living in it will die off. Okay? Then I come to a very important aspect: washing of our hands. This is very important. During some past epidemic, we are told about washing our hands. I'm sure some of us have forgotten about it or are not doing it anymore. Please, washing of hands is not something we pick up when there's an epidemic and drop it. It's supposed to be our lifestyle. And then in washing of our hands, there are critical points when we need to wash our hands to avoid diseases. First is before you eat your food. Please, 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 you must wash your hands before you eat your food. If you're a woman that is cooking, you have to wash your hands before you start preparing the food you're cooking, or anybody that is cooking at all, not just women. I know men cook. So please wash your hands before you start cooking food. 3, wash your hands after using the restroom or using the toilet or visiting the restroom. Make sure you wash your hands, because there are a lot of germs and organisms. Okay, even up to the door, there are germs and organisms. If you cannot see, please use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. It will help and it will kill off these diseases too. 4 is after cleaning up a child. When a child defecates or uses the toilet, after you clean up the child, please make sure you wash your hand. 5th is before you feed your child or before you feed your baby. For children that still need to be fed, you need to wash your hands before you start feeding them. So those are the critical times when you need to wash your hands to prevent fecal-oral diseases and contamination. Remember, cholera is preventable. Do everything in your power to prevent it. If you're building a house, please use the right specifications. Locate your septic tank well away, 5 meters, 10 meters away from your borehole, so that there will be no contamination at all. There will be no contamination from your feces and all that. There will not be a mixture of surface of the water in the septic tank with your drinking water or the water you use in your house. Please let us take these things seriously to prevent not just cholera. There are other diseases like hepatitis A, okay, that are gotten fecal-orally. Even typhoid is gotten fecal-orally. So don't take this as, okay, well, I'm trying to prevent just cholera. Take it like I'm living a healthier life. I'm preventing other diseases that can be transmitted fecal-orally from eating contaminated food and water. There are also currently vaccines for cholera. So if you're privileged to be at a place where these vaccines can be given, please get a cholera vaccine today. So what do you do when you notice all the symptoms we've talked about at home? What do? You start ORS. They sell oral rehydration solution in most pharmacies across the country, everywhere. That pharmacy next to you, they sell ORS. So you go there, buy ORS and start giving the person immediately. And if the person cannot tolerate or keep vomiting and losing water, then rush this person to the hospital. There is no waiting. Waiting could be fatal. You know, it could be fatal. It could go from 0 to 100 in some few hours. So please give ORS at home and start rushing this person to the hospital. If you notice this in your baby, please continue breastfeeding. It is not time to stop breastfeeding. Even if the baby is passing stool and stooling all the time, continue breastfeeding to replace all the things the baby is losing. I hope we have learned today how to prevent cholera and how to notice it. Please, 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 let's keep our environment clean. Let us try to be healthy. Let us strive to do all the things, all the necessary things to keep our environment healthy and to keep ourselves healthy. Because when the environment is clean and healthy, it will benefit all of us. Please subscribe to my channel right now. If you like this video, you can like, you can comment, and you can share this video to anyone who will need to hear this. Thank you.